Welcome back to the Larson Show. I suppose it's worth pointing out that while the deal for Elon Musk to buy Twitter is said to be done, it's signed, but it's going to take 6 months to put it together. It could take as long as a year, and it isn't a done deal yet, and it could fall apart between now and the final end. But I think he's had the effect on Twitter that he wanted to have on Twitter, although I know he plans to take ownership of it if he possibly can and if the left doesn't find a way to block him. But I wanted to ask Carl Szabo about this. He's vice president and general counsel for Net Choice and professor of internet law at George Mason's Antonin Scalia Law School. Carl, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Did you ever think that there would be such a thing as professor of internet law?
You know, a couple years ago, that used to be just the fun course, but now it's actually a really engaging opportunity for young students. And it's really great for me because I get to actually engage with budding lawyers and discuss with them these hot topics like the ones that you're talking about with respect to Elon Musk and Twitter and President Biden's Ministry of Truth or Digital Governance Board, whatever they want to call it today.
I've been calling it the Ministry of Truth in honor of the late great George Orwell in 1984. But let's talk about how that intersects with what Musk is trying to do and whether or not the two developments, Musk making the offer successfully to buy Twitter and the Biden administration announcing a Disinformation Governance Board headed up by a young lady who sounds more than a little bit out there in space.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically what will be satire, any other media, but unfortunately for the Biden administration, it's just another day at the office. The creation of their Disinformation Governance Board is their attempt to essentially begin censoring speech amongst Americans. Now, historically, we have looked and prevented foreign actors from engaging in disinformation in America. But instead, this Disinformation Governance Board, led by essentially a Democratic hack, is looking at Americans, it's spying on Americans, it's deciding what is and is not disinformation. And to your point, Lars, it can't be a coincidence that the Biden administration is rushing this new effort out at the same time that Elon Musk is taking over Twitter. Now, when the acquisition was approved by the board of Twitter for Elon Musk, I was getting whiplash, seeing it all the Democratic hot takes on how this is the end of the world. Elon Musk is going to destroy democracy. It's going to be dogs and cats living together in mass hysteria. And this Disinformation Governance Board is their solution. And why are they trying to do this? Well, because for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the legacy news media really hasn't been critical of Democrats. In fact, there was an article recently on how legacy news media reporters are bored with this administration. They don't have anything to report on. I guess they're not looking at what's going on at the border or gases or supermarkets or Ukraine or COVID or any of the others. Yeah, they're bored because they don't want to report on anything that paints the Biden administration in a bad light. So social media has become the outlet, has become the resource for us to get access to the truth. And who doesn't like that? Well, the people in charge, because they know that the legacy media is not going to report on all of the problems in this administration, and they want to silence anyone speaking ill of the king.
I'm talking to Carl Szabo, who's at the George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School. This is the part I really don't get, Carl, because I was a reporter for about 20 years in radio and TV before and I kept my opinion out of my stories. And when I jumped into talk radio, I said, I'm going to put my opinion in there, but I'm going to hold to the same rules I had as a journalist. I'm never going to tell people things that I don't believe to be true and that I can back up. And if I make a mistake, I'll come back out the next day or the next week and say, okay, I was wrong about that. I'm happy to be corrected. What I don't understand is this. When I was a reporter, I used to love gotcha stories, meaning if you found out that, somebody was doing something that was wrong, it didn't matter if I liked them or didn't like them, if I was an acquaintance of theirs or not, if they were from my side of the political aisle or not. I love doing those kind of stories, telling people, hey, this person is doing this thing and it's wrong, and here's why, and tell them the story, and nobody has, there are no sacred cows. Everybody's ox gets gored if it deserves it. What I don't understand is the current attitude of reporters, which is, I don't want to do a story if that would be negative for somebody I agree with politically. Where the heck did that come from?
I think it's just a collective groupthink when it comes to a lot of the legacy news media. Let's take, once again, this Disinformation Governance Board. What if President Trump had created such an institution? What if instead of this woman, Nina Jankowicz, being in charge, it was Alex Jones being put in charge?
Wow.
Exactly. That would be front page news. That would be nonstop MSNBC talking points, CNN talking points. That would be the sky is falling. And maybe the Washington Post's moniker of democracy dies in darkness might be somewhat legitimate with that claim. But you're not seeing that. You're not seeing that. And it all comes back to this effort by government to control social media, to control the news and views of Americans. And unfortunately, it's not just coming from the left. We are actually seeing Republicans like Representative Buck, who's working with the White House on legislation that will give the Biden administration even more control over the tech industry. We see legislation that we've been keeping an eye on out of Florida and Texas that is forcing social media to host content that it doesn't want. And at the end of the day, this is really, really dangerous because whether it is President Trump, whether it's President Biden, whether it is somebody completely different, I don't want any government telling any private business, newspaper, social media, whatever, what to say, what content to host. I want it to be left up to the business. I want Elon Musk to be in charge. And that's clearly not what this Biden administration wants to see happening.
Well, I agree with you, Professor. I'm talking to Carl Szabo. But tell me this, is there any way legally for a government bureaucracy to come out and declare something misinformation? Or is this viewed as just a way to give sort of all the social media types who are also on the same side of the political aisle as Biden an excuse saying, well, we have to take it off our site because the Disinformation Governance Board says it's misinformation? Is that what they're looking for? Because I don't see any other way in a First Amendment U.S. to be able to do that on behalf of government, is there?
So what you're talking about is kind of overt and covert influencing. So any government can come out and ask a business to do something, and
right.
The business has the right to say no. But what we're seeing with respect to some of the legislation here in Congress, there's an antitrust bill that will give incredible power to the Biden administration. That's the one that Representative Buck's working on. And what that would do would allow covert control over social media. So the Biden administration today could ask, let's say Facebook, could you please take down this post? And Facebook could say no. But with this new power, this new legislation, this new authority under antitrust, the Biden administration could say, could you please take down this post? And Facebook knows that if it doesn't, that the Biden